8:24, our guest this morning. You see him there. That was quite unique.
Embarrassing.
Bramwell Tovey is here tonight as his final performance with the VSO as music director. But I know you're not retiring, and let's just clarify that once and for all right now. You're not rewiring, you're not retiring, you're just moving on.
Rewiring perhaps was nothing to do with retiring. No, I've got two daughters to put through university first, and I've got lots to do, and I'm taking over the BBC Concert Orchestra in London as principal conductor, so I'm going to be travelling a lot to the UK, and I've conducted all over America and going to China in July, all kind with the New York Philharmonic. So there's all kinds of things going on, which I'm really enjoying.
All right, so I know you have a huge future ahead of you, but I do want to take a moment and think about your incredible tenure with VSO, 18 years. It's unprecedented. Whether it be with the VSO or, you know, your experiences in London, what's a memorable moment for you during your career?
Well, I think with the VSO, there were two moments that gave us a tremendous amount of street cred and helped what we were doing as classical performers. And one of them was winning the Grammy in 2008. That was a huge deal. Going to Los Angeles and being on the red carpet and doing that whole Grammy thing was quite something. The other thing was when Canada beat the US in the 2010 Olympics, I was walking into a hotel lobby in London, and as I walked in, I heard our recording of O Canada, which we'd recorded for the Olympics, being played on the television as the Canadian players were collecting their gold medals. And so that was wonderful because it was universal. I mean, the orchestra does very small things. We do children's concerts like you just saw on the screen there, but we do all kinds of things. And tonight is a huge classical event, one of the biggest things that we've done in 18 years. But it's really becoming something for everybody in the community. We've tried to make it an orchestra which actually can belong to everybody. That's what my aim has been.
What would you say the difference is between Vancouver symphony goers and, let's say, a symphony goer in London?
Well, if you're in London or New York or those great metropolitan centres, you've got places like Carnegie Hall to go to, or the Barbican Centre, where you can hear different orchestras from all over the world every night of the week. Here in Vancouver, we're an isolated capital. Well, not even the capital city of British Columbia, but we're an isolated...
We just pretend we are.
We pretend we are, yeah. I like Toronto pretends it's the capital of Canada. But I think we're in a situation where you have to travel for hours before you can hear another comparable orchestra. You'd have to go to Seattle, then San Francisco, and so on. So I think what we are in Vancouver, I think, is a very sophisticated cultural city. But I think because we're such a young city, we don't necessarily understand that we still have lots of infrastructure to build. We have a real theatre deficit downtown. We just don't have enough theatre going on in Vancouver. People are in all kinds of fringy spaces. When Bard comes in the summer, it's fantastic and everybody goes, oh, at last. But there's a thirst for these kinds of buildings, and I think the Orpheum has been our saving grace for the orchestra, because we've been able to go into the Orpheum, a building that was going to be demolished back in 1970, and bring it to life. And in the 18 years that I've been in Vancouver, we've seen that entire area around the Orpheum be transformed from really something terrible to what it is today.
You've spent more time than most inside the Orpheum. It's considered to be haunted. Do you think there's ghosts?
It's a wonderful legend, really, isn't it? But I've never come across any ghosts there.
How disappointing.
There is a feeling, though, you know what it's like when you walk into a theatre after the audience has left and it's been a great performance, and you look at the empty building. It's certainly very, very atmospheric. I'm going to do that tonight after my last performance. I'm just going to walk into the Orpheum when it's empty and just remember some of those occasions and just have a little private moment with the space. She's a very, very, very beautiful theatre.
Oh, she certainly is.
Yeah.
Bramwell, as you continue to solidify yourself as someone that, you know, emerging conductors and composers look up to, who do you look up to?
I find that if you have any sense at all, when you're in a leadership position, you feel more and more overwhelmed by people in parallel fields. And I think there are a lot of people that I look at and think, wow, this snippet of their leadership or that particular facet of their personality is really quite extraordinary. I tend to look backwards a lot and think about some of the remarkable people in history who've had to to lead and to do things. I mean, I'm so lucky because I'm here in beautiful British Columbia, and I'm extremely fortunate. But I look at people, some of the people who are working in my field today, people like Marion Newman, the wonderful Quagulth opera singer from Victoria, who's like a world-famous opera singer and has really hung on to her ancestral roots on Vancouver Island. I find her incredibly inspiring, and we've worked closely with her. She's fantastic. There are lots of people around
connection
like
there too.
Absolutely.
Bramwell, thank you so much for joining us this morning, or shall I call you Maestro?
No, Bramwell's fine.
Okay.
I'm only Maestro for a few more hours.
Well,